Welcome back to Albie's Backyard Texas Barbecue. Here I have a whole packer prime brisket, USDA. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how to trim a brisket. So this brisket is a 12-pound brisket. I went ahead and used my kitchen shears. I'm gonna go ahead and remove it out of its packaging. So I'm gonna be making this cook overnight. This is a very messy task. So I'm gonna go ahead and fit it into my cutting board and throw away the packaging. So this brisket is weighing at 11.99, almost to a 12-pounder. So stay tuned for the trimming. So right here, before we get started, I'm gonna show you guys what I use as equipment. I have 2 nitrile gloves. I have a boning knife and a brisket knife. I'm also going to be using this to dry off any excess blood that might be on the meat. So before we start trimming, I'm going to get this paper towel and just go around the brisket, wiping it down. If you don't do this part, it just makes it harder for any binder to get on it. And the binder works as a way to get the seasoning to adhere to the meat. So this is a very important step before you start seasoning your brisket. Now the fat cap as well. I'm gonna flip it over. I'm gonna dry off the fat cap. So just to give you guys a closer look, this right here is the deckle fat. Any brisket that you get is gonna have this large piece of fat. This is important to remove it. It's not gonna render down with the meat during the cook. This is gonna be something that you don't wanna serve your guests, or if you're selling barbecue, you don't wanna serve to your customers. So right here, this is very simple. This fat up here, silver skin, you can simply remove going towards the grain, and then have yourself another cutting board right here so you can put all the excess. So this is a really simple process. This deckle, I do work it slowly. You don't want to get into the meat because that will affect your cook. You don't want to trim this brisket too aggressively. But this fat does not render down. So like I said, you do have to remove this fat. Continue with this deckle. I'm just getting into it. I'm cutting slowly just to make sure I'm not picking up any meat. See, I picked up a little bit of meat. That's okay. I just want to remove this thick layer of fat. Just graze it across, and what other silver skin you see that you feel it's not going to render too well, you can simply just remove, like I said, across the grain. You got a thick piece of silver skin right here. And just always be mindful when you have a brisket, the most you trim off, the harder it is going to be to cook, because if you have a lot of fat, that sometimes works with you. I'm going to include clips on this video of how I did a hot and fast brisket, and I had some difficulties with it. It was definitely a learning curve. I did have to pick some brains of some pit masters that I know, and it did help me out with the cook, but it definitely was a learning curve. So I do want you guys to see that it's possible to make a small brisket. So as you guys can see, the shape of the brisket is pretty proportional. I did notice this spot over here with a lot of fat. I'm gonna go ahead and trim this straight right here and keep the form of the brisket. I'm also gonna give it a nice curve over here. And the purpose of that is just for aerodynamicy. You want your brisket to be aerodynamic. It'll be a lot easier to cook. It'll cook a lot more evenly, and it'll be a lot easier to slice. And just like I said, I do like to use the brisket slicing knife for something like this because I could use it as a guide to help me keep the brisket straight. And some meat is gonna come off with this. And the purpose of that meat, you can make ground beef, you can make spaghetti, you can make burgers, anything that you use ground beef for, chili. So as you guys can see, there's a lot of intermuscular fat and meat in here. Nice marbling, perfect for hamburgers or spaghetti or whatever. Ground beef of your choice, taco meat. Another trick to removing a lot of this stuff is you can go underneath, lift up the brisket and just go with the grain. Makes it a lot easier to trim off this silver skin on the top. Get some more of this deckle off. Just depends on the brisket. There's some oddly shaped briskets that have a very weird looking deckle, and it's very hard to cut down. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to have some briskets that, you know, were pretty easy to trim. Every brisket is different. Some trims are going to be easier or harder than others. It just depends. It all depends on your types of brisket. I'm gonna move on to the flat side of it. And the thing here, as I mentioned, I just want aerodynamicy. So I'm gonna go ahead and just give it a nice little curve right here. This flap right here, it's not gonna cook all too well if we leave it. And again, it makes it harder when you slice. So I'm just gonna go ahead and give it that nice curve. So this right here is called the mohawk of the brisket. I'm gonna go ahead and just trim it in a way where it's flat with everything else. I'm gonna pick up some of this other fat that kind of went with the deckle. And I'm just gonna go straight up. I don't wanna cut too much into the meat. Like so. Just give it that evenness on the top. I'm gonna be flipping over to the meat side. I'm sorry, to the fat side. And over here, it's gonna allow me to see the mistakes I made as I trimmed it. As you can see, there are some meats that are dangling off the sides. I wanna go ahead and just give this an even ovalness. We do have a lot of silver skin on this fat cap, and I'm just gonna go in slowly and just remove it. Man, I'm looking like a rookie with this. I'm gonna move on to this bigger knife just to give me that edge of removing this fat cap. or not removing the fat cap, the silver skin, I'm sorry. So just like that, you want to lift it up and then just gradually slice in. You don't want to get into meat, that's a mistake. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slice over it and just leave that flap there. You don't want to remove fat right above meat, so you can easily correct yourself. See, we got some of it off. Just keep working. Some of this fat's just not gonna run there, so it's best to just remove it, make it thinner. Please enjoy the music in the background. It's my son's swing. Keeps me focused on this brisket trim. Just nice and easy. Take your time. This is something that needs to be rushed. You wanna produce a nice brisket. Feel free to switch tools. Go for your boning knife. And I'm gonna show you guys what I mean here about correcting the edges. Just a simple cut. Nothing too excessive, because remember, you already trimmed the meat side. You don't wanna remove more meat if you don't have to. Just give it a nice little evenness on the edges. I try not to go too aggressively with the fat cap. Just any thick silver skin that I don't want, I take off. I mean, I personally prefer a moist brisket. There's people that don't like fat. I like fat. Again, just cleaning this up. Just giving this a nice quick clean. That's what you're looking for, just like that, nice and even. How it's easy to season. And I do like to rub my meat and pat my meat. Take it how you want it, but that's something about looking at a piece of meat, Texas barbecue. Just, you know, it's awesome. Again, I'm just correcting the edges to my liking. And that's my quick and simple way of trimming a brisket. Just look at this. It's nice and even. Not too aggressive over here. There might be some silver skin. You can let me know in the comments that you would remove, but this is how I like my brisket. I do like my brisket very moist and juicy. I will also be adding tallow to this when I wrap. So after the brisket is trimmed, here I have the separation of the meat and the fat. The fat I use for beef tallow. You can put it in a crock pot, you can put it in the oven, or you can simply put it in an aluminum pan right next to your brisket during the cook. What you see there on the right is the meat separated. That meat I can use for, as I mentioned, spaghetti, burgers, taco meat. It's totally up to you. The purpose of this trimming video is to show you that 100% of the brisket is utilized. Nothing is thrown out, everything is utilized. So I'm gonna... See, it's got the jiggle.
Yeah.
And you just, whatever's in here, I usually try to drip it over.
Right, because that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Juice.
It's messy though, that's why I wear an apron too.
Yeah.
Like you're slicing into butter. You know, like no resistance. So this is the leaner portion of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then this is the more juicier portion of it, see?
Holy smokes. I'm gonna show this to Dave. I'm gonna Dave, this is what fucking real.
And when you first slice into it, to know that you did a good job,
Yeah.
it's gotta fold like that.
Oh, like a flap.
Yeah. So see? You pick it up, and then you gotta break. You know, like no resistance. So this is the leaner portion of it,
Yeah, yeah.
and then this is the more juicier portion of it. See?
Holy smokes. Oh, like a flap.
Yeah. So see? You pick it up, and then you gotta.
Oh,
It breaks apart easy. You did a good job.
Yeah.
So this is a
Y cuando le está quitando el papel es que lo está, queda